Salut! Today's lesson is on le plus que parfait. Please be sure to fill out your copy of the notes and bring any questions you may have to class. So, le plus que parfait is how in French we say what people had done or what had happened. And when you are saying that something had happened, then you are talking about something that's in the past, but is before a different event in the past. So we consider it the past of the past when we're thinking of le plus que parfait. And when you are conjugating it, what it ends up looking like is you get the imparfait forms of either avoir or être, and you get the past participle, or what we think of as the second half of the passé composé, and you put those side by side. So we'll take a look at that on the next slide, but here below we have an example of a timeline. If we start here with the present, then to the right on the timeline we have the future. So we have things that are currently happening, things that will happen. If we move to the left, we have the passé composé and the imparfait, which are at the same point typically in time. And then even further left, we have the plus que parfait. So if we had a series of events in order, we would say first what had happened, then we would say what happened after that. We would come to what's happening now, and then finish off with what will happen later on. Here's an example with the verb prendre. You can see that we have a subject, we have the form avoir in the imparfait, and then we have that word pre, the past participle. So it looks a lot like the passé composé, except the only thing that we have done is we have started conjugating the helping verb avoir in the imparfait. So it's exactly like putting those two tenses and combining them together. If we use the verb sortir as another example, as a verb that in the passé composé takes être, is in the house of être, then in the plus que parfait it will also be in the house of être. And so we see that for the verb sortir, I'm showing that there are the agreement with either feminine and or plural forms. We're also going to take the verb s'amuser, which, because it's a reflexive verb, we see that not only do we have the reflexive pronouns me, te, se, etc., but we also have être as our helping verb, because reflexive verbs take être as their helping verb in the passé composé, which means that they do so also in the plus que parfait. We can see the agreement with feminine and or plural forms for the verb s'amuser as well. And then we see that we have this tiny word déjà, which means already. And déjà is a word that can be used with the plus que parfait, but it's not always used with the plus que parfait. So our example sentence at the bottom, she had already left when I called her. This is a very good example of how the plus que parfait is something that happened in the past before a different action in the past. So at some point, she leaves her house. I don't know what time that was, but I do know that by the time I called her, she had already left. Even though both of those actions are in the past, her leaving, we know from this sentence, happened first. It happened further in the past. So just like with the passé composé, verbs that are conjugated in the plus que parfait will have agreement. So we know that the verbs that take être as their helping verb, the ones in the maison d'être or Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp, as you may know it, verbs that are reflexive unless they are followed immediately by a direct object, which we learned about with the chapters with body parts, so often we see that as an example. But we do go back to having agreement if a verb takes avoir, if it's helping verb, if we see a direct object pronoun that goes before the conjugated verb. So in the question and answer, les devoirs, je les avais déjà fait, we see that fait has an S because we have the direct object pronoun les in front of the conjugated verb. On this final slide, we're going to practice rewriting the verbs from the passé composé into the plus que parfait, and I've provided you a model which shows the French conjugations and the English translations. This way you can see how they look side by side. So we're changing these pre-written sentences, the first one being he went to the movies, and now it says he had gone to the movies. We changed we arrived to the hotel into we had arrived to the hotel. Now we have they got a drink together, and that becomes they had gotten a drink together. And finally, we see you walked in the city become you had walked in the city. And there you have it. I hope this was a clear introduction to the plus que parfait. Please be sure to bring any questions you may have with you to class. À bientôt.